Hi there. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about stored procedure. What are stored procedure? So stored procedure or stored procedure is a reusable block of code that performs a specific command. A stored procedure can be a simple select statement. You can even be select and then the table in a particular database. So but then we can use it for also more complicated things. So now let's create a simple stored procedure, and then we'll also create a more sophisticated stored procedure. So I'm going to be making use of my books table. So in this books table, I'm just going to read in what I have in that particular database. Just going to say sys tables. So we can see the tables I have. So I have four tables: author, employee, student, and staff. I'm just going to visualize each one of this. So this is what I have in my author table. I'm going to visualize. I'm just going to read the other ones too, so we can see what we have there. Okay, there's not really much here, but I could just use particular a particular block of code I've written before. Okay, so I'm just going to use this particular one. I'm going to change the database first. And when I run this gives me a result. Now, this particular code, what it does is that it returns the category ID and number of product category that we have in each of these components: the bikes, components, clothing, and accessories. So under bikes, we have 3 kinds of bikes. Under components, we have 14 kinds of components, and then clothing 8, accessories 12. So what this is basically doing, or how I got these results, is that I joined my category table to my product subcategory, because the category table only has the category name and then the ID, while the product subcategory has each of the subcategories in each of the categories. So by joining these two tables together, I'm able to know the kinds of subcategories or products I have in each of these categories. So what I'm trying to do now is to turn this block of code here. I'm just going to copy it. And then I'm going to paste it here. So I can turn this already made block of code into a stored procedure. So what does this mean? This means that every time I request for this information, I no longer need to have this block of code. I can get rid of it. The only thing I need to do is to call the procedure name and then it returns the result for me. So how do I then create a stored procedure? To create a stored procedure, just like creating every other instance in SQL, we use the create word and then the name of the instance that we want to create. In this case is procedure. Now, after doing this, we need to tell SQL where the start of my procedure starts from. So use the keyword as. So after as, SQL automatically interprets that every other thing that you have listed here is a procedure that you want to save. However, the procedure has to have a name. So just immediately after create procedure, just like when we want to create a table or a database, we use create database and then the name of the database, create table, and then the name of the table. Now, this particular one also create procedure and the name of the procedure. So I'm just going to call it cart. Or category. So if I run this now and there's no error, this has automatically been saved for me as a stored category, stored category. So if I click on this side now, I go to databases and I go to Adventure Works 2022 and I go to views. So I go start. So under programmability, you have stored procedure and then you have category. So when you click on that category, it gives you parameter and you can see the difference. So you can see the other stored procedures that we have here, DB or get bill of materials and stuff. But right now I have my parameters equals to 0 because I have not defined any variable name here. I've only used the result of the table to create a stored procedure. So if I want to call the stored procedure now, I can get rid of the code I used to create it. It doesn't matter. So if I want to execute a stop procedure now, all I have to do is to type exec and then the name of the stop procedure. Now this gives me the same results that I would get with this block of code. Now with this now, I do not need this particular block of code. I could delete it if I wanted to. Every time I need to see the um, number of categories and the number of products of category, all I have to do is to execute this category and it returns it. Note that this stop procedure is now being added to my database. So it becomes a part and parcel of my database henceforth, unless that database no longer exists on my machine. Now, the demo we have just seen right now is an example of creating a stop procedure with no variable. Let's go ahead and create a stop procedure with a variable. Now, still using this particular one, let me choose another one so that it makes sense. I'm just going to create a very basic stop procedure so that it makes sense to us. I'm just going to say select everything. So these are the information that we have in the table. We have 290 rows in that particular table. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to save this as a stop procedure. I'm just trying to make this basic so that we can understand how it works. So I'm going to say, just going to copy this part. And I'm going to call this human add, right? And I'm going to run this. Now, before I run this, don't forget that the aim is to have a variable in it. So now the variable can now be anything that I want to fetch from this particular table. I'm just going to use something that is very easy for me to relate with. This can be anything, any of your variables in the data, but I just want to pick something that is very relatable to me. So I'm just going to say, so to create a variable, I'm going to use the at symbol, at, and then in the name of the variable that I want to create. So in this case, now I'm going to now, after naming my variable, I need to put in a data type. So I'm just going to call it larger. And I'm going to make it 30 or 20. Even though the original data set doesn't have larger 20, but it is using something very similar. So now that I've written this part, my gender is, I'm using gender as my so I'm just going to, so this equals to, so now what I want to do is that I want to say whatever value that the user inputs at the top, it should check it with the column in the data set or the column on the table to see that if it actually exists, and if it exists, it should perform a certain operation. So gender is equal to, and I'm just going to use as gender. So that means that way I'm saying the gender that already exists should be equal to the one that we just created. Now that I'm just going to say colon. So now let's go ahead and run this. Okay, now a new stop procedure has been created. If I refresh this particular table now, so I'm looking for human R. Let's see, is it there? Okay, it's still, I don't know why it's taking this long. Let's see. So now you can see now human R is there now, right? And if I click on this drop down, you see that I have a gender variable. Unlike the other one, the category that had no parameter, the store procedure has a variable now, which is gender. So this is why you're having something under parameter. Now, to execute this particular block of code or this particular instance on SQL structured query language database, you call this procedure using the exec keyword, and then the name of the procedure, which in this case is human R. And then now remember that you have actually assigned a value here, right? Just gonna copy this, paste it right here, and then put in the value that you want to filter by. Imagine that you're using a real clause right now. So just gonna use M. Okay. Let's wait a couple of this seconds for this to come up. All right. So now this is the result of the human resource employee and the male gender only, right? So if I go to gender now, you see that the only value that it returns is M. Okay, this is gender column. Like you can see now it's only M. Right. So what this does is that this is a function on its own. And what it does is that it will go and create an instance. It will create an instance in the function name, whereby the next time you want to use that particular function, all you have to do is to put the variable names, and then it saves you time of having to rewrite the code over and over again. All right. Thank you for listening to the end. Do enjoy the rest of the day. See you next time.